Hi there, and welcome back to the Sticks plus Twine podcast. This is episode 30. Today is Sunday, January the 29th, and my name is Eric. Welcome back if you've been watching for a while, and welcome to any new viewers. I'm really glad to have you spend a little bit of time today. Today's going to be a bit of a, not say a bigger show, but the haul, although it is not as big as last year's from Vogue Knitting Live, it is still rather substantial. Going to take some time to get through it, but we're going to talk about, of course, the KALs that we have in progress, KALs that I'm participating in. We're going to talk about status report, which is the stuff that I've been working on, some finished objects. Yes, there are some finished objects. There's some work in progress as well. We're going to talk about Knitter's World, which of course is all about my trip to New York for Vogue Knitting Live, which took place 2 weekends ago. Then everybody's favorite part, of course, is the haul, because there's quite a few pretties just parked right here next to me. Both yarn and non-yarn type things, but all woolly related objects. And then we're going to talk about one or two other little things. So let's get started. First things first, let's talk about today's beverage of choice. I just brewed it, so it's going to be a little bit hot, but let's give it a little taste. Hot, but outstanding. This is the Ruby Oolong from David's Teas today, which I adore. It's really delicious. So if you like oolong, it's definitely one of my highlight ones to go to. Let's start talking about the Everybody Loves Pie KAL. This is the Knitalong that we're running here on Sticks plus Twine. And if you want to participate, there's still time, but I'm going to tell you, Pie Shawl does take some investment in time. So hopefully you have some time to get through it if you haven't started already. There are some finished objects already in the thread, and this is essentially, it's a Pie Shawl KAL. So I am still working through mine. I have not touched it since the last time I showed it to you. A lot of other things have been going on, so nothing major, just other stuff I wanted to work on. So I have one project I'm going to share with you today that's a work in progress, and then I'm going to get moving back on that one. But there are some great examples of what pie shawls look like. If you're looking for inspiration, there is a bundle that is available on Ravelry that I put together that is posted in the group that you can take a look at and see if there's something there that tickles your fancy. So let's start talking about the next thing I wanted to jump into, which is the box of Sox KAL, which is Kristen of Wool and Vine Yarn and the Yarngasm podcast. It's her annual, well now I guess it's kind of annual, if this is the second year it's been running, where you knit 12 pairs of socks in a year. So you fill up basically a box of socks. And last year I did not make it. I was short by a full pair. This year that will not happen, and I have a new strategy, you see. The strategy is that I powered through and got 2 pairs done in January. I have them all planned out for the rest of the year, so I'm on my way. So I'm going to cast on another pair very shortly, but I have them all mapped out, what yarns I want to use, what patterns I'm going to use, and I'll probably start the March pair likely this weekend sometime coming up, this upcoming weekend. But I'm already off to the races. But here's the strategy to keep from getting bored or sort of exhausted of knitting socks. I'm knitting the first sock of pair 1, and then the first sock of pair 2. So I knit the first sock for January, then I knit this first sock for February. Then I went back and finished out January's pair, and then I went back and finished February's pair. And I'm going to keep sort of doing that leapfrogging technique, because that way I get to do different things that are not always the same. I try not to have too many vanilla socks this year. I do have some just where the yarn warrants it, where it's kind of interesting and nice just as it is. So I'm well on my way. I'm 2 out of 10. That's 1/5 down. No, 1/6 down. Sorry, 2 out of 12, I should say. I have 10 left to go. Not 10 in total. That wouldn't be a year. No. But why don't we take a little sip of our tea, settle back with a beverage or your knitting, and let's start talking about status report. So this week in status report, I'm going to show you the 2 finished objects, which are both pairs of socks. I'm going to show you a work in progress as well. So let's start with the socks that we have. Now, I blocked these, and I'll tell you, I wash my socks in the washing machine in the woolen cycle, and then I just air dry them. I could do them all in one go. I figure after 1 or 2 washes, any dye that's going to have come out is already come out, so I don't worry about it too much. These I have worn, but I put them on blockers to put them back into shape, and there they are. These are the vanilla latte socks, and I want to make sure I get the pattern right. This is Nitpicks Felici in the Time Traveler colorway, and this is the vanilla latte sock by Virginia Rose Jean, or Jeans, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But there's the pattern. It's just a really cute, simple broken rib on a 6x2, and I really, really liked making them. They're very comfortable. I have gone back to doing Fish Lips Kiss Heel, and I was talking in my last episode about, I read about doing self-striping sock yarn to knit from the other end of the ball to get, just so that you don't break the stripe sequence and the size of the stripes. That's what I did, and it turned out perfectly. It turned out almost the same on the heel as well, which I'm kind of proud about. So yeah, so that's pair 1. Those are January socks. And I also finished pair 2, which is the trench coat colorway from Turtle Pearl. This is my second time using Turtle Pearl. The first time was in the, oh crikey, I can't remember what the name of the yarn was, but it was gold. It was Grello. It was gold and silver. Oh, I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, it's not important. I've talked about it in other podcasts. This one's trench coat, and you can see probably what the inspiration for the colorway was. These are just a vanilla sock. As a reminder, my vanilla sock recipe is 72 stitches on a 2.5mm needle, and I do a 2x2 ribbed cuff for about 20 rounds or so. But what I've been taking to doing is just finding where the natural break in the striping pattern is. It just makes kind of sense. The nice thing about Turtle Pearl is that if you start the yarn at the same spot, they will always, because they're dyed in pairs, they will always end up matching perfectly. Fish Lips Kiss Heel again. So really happy about those. These are my February socks. So as I said, I've got 2 pairs done out of 12, 1/6 down. So what else have I been working on? Well, I finished the socks, and then I was struggling a little bit because I've been feeling the itch to make a sweater. I've got so many sweaters quantities, which sounds like I'm bragging, but it's not. It's just, I keep acquiring too much yarn, and I needed to get knitting on something. So I promised Sebastian, who's my partner if you're new and you haven't watched before, I promised him a year ago Christmas that I would make him a sweater, and I never got around to it. So I thought, well, fair is fair. I better get around to it because I'll never hear the end of it if I don't. So I cast that on, and I'm just trying to not mess up too much of the yarn. Apologies for the being out of frame for a moment. And here's the body. I started this on Thursday, and it looks like a lot of knitting to do in basically 2 days. And it was. This is the Chesterfield pattern by Julie Hoover for Brooklyn Tweed, and it is a bottom up yoked sweater that I'm working on the first sleeve right now, and you do a tubular cast on at the bottom, which I'm actually really liking. It's not that much of a palaver to do because half of them, every other round is like, after the first round it's basically all slipped stitches, so it's easy. But here's the interesting thing. Little known fact, this is the first time I'm really working in any significant quantity with a non-natural fiber. This is man-made. This is Vanna's Choice for Lion Brand Vanna's Choice, and it is acrylic. So strategically I decided, well, okay, true confessions time. I bought all of this yarn to make this sweater before I knew really what to buy. But I bought it also with the intention that because Sebastian travels so much, if he happened to be wearing it, something spills on it, it gets, crammed in a suitcase, won't matter because literally he can just take it out, throw it in the washing machine, and all is good. So there's 3 colors, and typically the pattern actually calls for Brooklyn Tweed Loft held double, so it's a very marled pattern in the sample and in the instruction. So I did a swatch to make sure that this worsted weight would equate roughly to the same sort of gauge, and I found I was a little bit off on gauge, so I went up a needle size, both for the ribbing, which is sort of size A, and the body, which is size B, and it seems to be working out just fine. All the measurements are working out. Sebastian has a very long torso, so I measured one of the sweaters that he really enjoys wearing to make sure that the body length would be right. But he's out right now. He's traveling, so unfortunately I'm gonna have to wait till he gets home to test out the sleeves. In the pattern, there's a picture of the sample, which is absolutely beautifully knit, and of course all of this color blocking matches exactly where the sleeves lie against the bodies, and I don't know if I'm going to actually be able to do that without him here and, you know, constant measuring and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to wing it. I'm going to go and do the best that I can, and yeah, so that'll be it. So big chunk of the sweater knitting done. The sleeves are probably, again, you know, about the same amount of knitting, and then you join all of it together and knit up to the top. The pattern does have a turtleneck finish to it, which I don't think he's going to enjoy, so I'm just going to put a just a ribbed crew neck on it. That'll be fun. So that's the last piece of ongoing current knitting, and I'm really happy about it. I'm pleased with how that's going. I've got my socks done. As soon as I get that sweater done, I'm going to go back to the pie shawl and just bang that out, so that'll be finished as well. So there you go. That's it for status report, and let's come back after a few sips of tea, refresh the voice, and we'll talk about Knitter's World. So welcome back, and now let's talk a little bit about that tiny little yarn event called Vogue Knitting Live. It was 2 weeks ago, and I flew down to New York with Sebastian, who was able to visit with some friends while I went and participated in all of the knitting goodness. It was honestly it was different than last year. It was very different than last year because I actually knew kind of what I was doing this time. And I didn't block my entire schedule full of classes like I did last time. So I got a lot more opportunity to hang out and talk to people and meet some new friends. And I got to say hi to a lot of you who are viewers. Thank you so much for coming and saying hi. I really super appreciate it. So let's talk about what did I do. So we flew down Friday. I had a class Friday afternoon, which was with Leslie Solomon, and it was Secrets of Writing Your Own Sweater Pattern. Scale of 1 to 10, this is the way I evaluate movies, by the way. Whenever I leave a movie with somebody that I've gone to see it with, I immediately ask them, scale of 1 to 10, what did you think? Don't think about it too hard, just give me an answer. And so that class, I would honestly have to give probably about a 6. Here's the thing. It's a 3-hour class. The first hour was pretty much taken up with how to basically wash a swatch. And I get why swatching is important. I totally do, absolutely 100% agree with it, especially when you're trying to figure out your gauge for designing a sweater. But it felt like there was a lot of unnecessary time spent in conversation that didn't really require that in-depth of a conversation. The result of that was that we kind of had to rush through some of the more important concepts closer to the end of the class. So that was a little disappointing. So I'm not telling tales out of school because I said the same thing to Leslie as well when I was leaving. But that's okay. You know what? It was only the start. I was really, really, really glad to see, though, that... So here's maybe a newbie tip. Maybe it's not a tip. I don't know. If you take a class on Friday afternoon, you get early access to the marketplace on Friday afternoon, which is not open to the general public for marketplace tickets on Friday. So I was able to go and wander around and see all the booths and sort of get a lay of the land, who's there, and that was a lot of fun. That was pretty awesome. So Friday night, had some dinner with some friends and got a relatively, I'd say, early night in for me in New York. It was midnight when I went to bed, something like that, because the next day I had a class and a lecture booked. And the class in the morning on Saturday I took was with Deborah Newton, and it was on knitting, writing patterns for knitwear, which, if you're not familiar with Deb, and I'm sure if you do a Google search you'll see, she's extremely highly experienced in the world of designing sweaters. She's designed a ton for all kinds of publications. She's written books, 2 of which you will see in the hall. And that class was absolutely amazing. Had a great time in there. There was so many great examples of knitters who were experienced, knitters who were inexperienced. There was, I think it was like a trio of ladies from Quebec City who were all machine knitters who were interested in learning more about writing patterns, and that was fascinating to hear a little bit of their perspective. So got to talk with Deb. She was kind enough to sign a book that I had purchased, which was lovely. And I got a lot out of that one, a lot of inspiration, a lot of confidence building. And then the lecture that I went to was the Genesis of Sequence Knitting by Cecilia Campochiaro, who was, gave an incredibly inspirational talk about how she discovered her passion for sequence knitting. And I guess the easiest way to describe sequence knitting is mathematical algorithms as applied to knits and purls. But actually, that's probably the most complex way of describing it. Easiest way of saying patterns of knits and purls in certain orders that give you really complex looking fabric, but it's super easy to knit. Which, honestly, it was incredible. I have described Cecilia as the Elon Musk of knitting, and I stand by that claim. I think she's absolutely genius and brilliant. So it was amazing. But along the way, I got to say hi to Michelle Wong. I got to meet a whole bunch of other designers and knitwear folks, because that afternoon, after the lecture, I just went to the marketplace, wandered around, picked up a few new things, which was lovely. Got to spend some time with the ladies at Green Mountain Spinnery, and I talked with Kit from Church Mouse, which was fabulous. I got to talk to Pearl and Nancy from Nitty City, and oh gosh, I don't know, like I'm gonna forget somebody, so I'll stop talking, but it was awesome. The marketplace was really, really good. It's hard not to buy everything in sight, but this year, because I'm really, again, focusing on project-specific purchases, I'm trying not to just willy-nilly pick up things just because they're amazing. I want to know what I'm going to make with them, because you know what? Sheep keep growing wool, and there will be more. It's kind of like I don't have to eat the whole cake in one sitting, because they will make another cake if I really want more. So all good. Had the best time. And then Saturday night, we had sort of a get-together with a bunch of podcasting friends, and it was lovely to see everybody and just spend some time and get to knit together. And the funniest thing happened, we were sitting knitting, there was 18, 20 of us, and this family was sitting in the restaurant that we were in, and their two little girls came over and started to ask me what I was making, and I happened to be knitting, I think, socks at the time. And it was so adorable to see them getting really interested, and I find it really funny that they came to talk to me, because I'm not the biggest fan of children. Babies I'm great with. Children, not so much. And of course there's a lot of ladies there, so you kind of would assume that they would go to the ladies, but nope, they came right on over and showed them what I was doing. It was a really, really fun memory. Then Sunday, so here's the funny thing. When Sebastian and I had gone to Disney for New Year, we're sitting in the airport, and I just happened to be perusing the Vogue Knitting website, because I wanted to remind myself, what's my homework? Do I have to bring anything? Get my supplies ready? That sort of stuff. I was just killing time. And I saw that there was a opening in Cecilia's class on Sunday, her 2-part class on sequence knitting. Well, I hadn't planned on spending the money or the time and doing it. I was just going to hang out on Sunday. But when in Rome, I thought, what the heck? I may never get a chance to do this again, so I'm going to sign up for it. So I ended up taking her full 6 hours of class material on sequence knitting. And it was, honestly, it changed my entire view of construction of fabric, not just of a garment or an accessory or the end product, but the process of creating it. Loved the class. If you get a chance, I know she's doing a few other engagements around the country, around the US primarily. If you get a chance to ever take one of her classes, I highly recommend it. It's really, really fascinating. She's a brilliant teacher. You can tell she's done this for a while. So I did that on Sunday, got to do a little running around, went and saw a lecture with some amazing designers, sort of a panel conversation, And my only one regret is that I didn't get a chance to say hi to Joji Locatelli. I know she was there, and I was like, oh my God, there's Joji. I mean, I have very few people that I get starstruck by, but Michelle Wong was one of them, and I think Joji's probably another one. I was a bit too shy to go and say hi. Sorry, Joji, maybe next time you'll say hi and I'll say hi, and that'll be that, and we'll be besties. And anyway, I'm gushing. So that was basically, and then I had to go back to the second half of the class, which was great. And I don't know what to say about, what more I can say about that. It was just so eye-opening. It was such an inspirational experience. And I had gone to Vogue this year with the intention of learning more skills-based things, including designing, not necessarily the process of how to get inspiration and all that sort of stuff, but actually how to articulate the designs. I've got some ideas that I want to put into play, but how do I write it? How do you write a pattern properly? How do you figure out things like the math without turning to another designer and say, here, I have this idea, now you do it. You know, I want to understand the process better. So did I come away from Vogue feeling like I sort of accomplished what I'd set out to do? Absolutely. And then we flew home on, I flew home on the Monday morning, which was fine. It was just nice to get to just relax and hang out and not be so rush this time around. So I think next year I will probably go again. I can't say definitively that I will because I don't know what our travel plans will be for next year. We've got pretty substantial travel plans for this year. So yeah, so that was Vogue. That was great. What else is going on in Knitter's World? Well, I went to the Knitters Guild meeting here in Toronto, which was great. There was a really great conversation about lace knitting from Russia, which was fascinating. Got to see Kate Atherley there, which was cool. Got to talk with Fiona Ellis. Saw my friends Ramona and Ashley, and it was great fun. It was a lot of fun. And then yesterday there was a trunk show at Yarns Untangled here in Toronto that was highlighting the yarns of Richard DeVries, who is a brilliant color man. He's really, and he's such a sweet person. And he happened to give me a couple of skeins of yarn, which I will show you in the hall. So that was really nice. It was nice to see Brenna of Yarns Untangled again. I hadn't been out to the shop in quite a while, so it was nice to see how they've evolved since they opened. And then my friend Elaine and I went to that. Elaine lives here in my building, and she's also, in the past, I'd say year or so, has rediscovered her passion for knitting as well. So it's kind of nice to have someone in the building that I can talk to. And then we popped out to Romney, which was amazing because I happened to run into Sachiko Bergen and had a nice little chat with her, and I picked up some needle cords that I needed because I was like, you always need needle cords for your interchangeables, right? But they happened to have a sale on some European sock yarn, so I picked up a couple of skeins while I was there, which again, I will show you in the hall. And yeah, so it was great. Came home. It was, Sebastian had to leave last night, so I just sat and watched some TV and yeah, kept knitting on his sweater. So that's about it for Knitter's World. It was a great experience being back in New York. It was lovely to see all my yarny friends and to meet some new people. And yeah, so why don't we just get right into showing all the stuff. Let's talk about the haul. All right, we're gonna do the haul in two parts this time because I want to talk about yarn and I want to talk about non-yarn stuff. So part one's about the yarn. In no particular order of acquisition, other than I'm going to try and talk about what I got from Vogue and then what I got elsewhere. And then I'll talk about all the non-yarn stuff. Sound cool? Cool. So first things first, let's talk about this amazing loveliness that my friend, oh, there goes my furnace just kicked on, must be getting cold. My lovely friend Kristen of Volanvine Yarn brought me this gorgeous skein. This is Harpsichord, and this is on her new base called Cocoon. This is 100% superwash BFL. It's 181 yards or 165 meters, and this is her Aran weight. And you can probably tell from previous episodes that I'm all about the golds and yellows these days for some reason. and branching into greens and grays and blues. Yeah, that's about it. And kind of every color. Anyway, I love this. It's super, super lovely. I'm a huge fan of BFL. I love it. Her footsie base is my favorite sock yarn, I think, to this point. For durability, it feels sturdy without being chunky, which I adore them. That reminds me, I don't know if I ever showed you my Not a Creature with Stirring sock, my finished Christmas socks for last year. I'll have to go back and check. If I didn't, I'm sorry, I'll show it next time. Anyway, thank you, Kristen, for that. That was such a lovely, lovely gift. And I think I'm going to check. I think I have enough yardage to make a hat out of this, which would be nice, yarn hat. So that's one. And then my friend Gabby, who is the dyer behind Once Upon a Corgi and host of the Once Upon a Corgi podcast as well, gifted me this loveliness. So when we're talking about non-merino, we talked about just BFL just now. This one is 75% superwash Corriedale and 25% nylon. And the colorway is called, I love this, it's called That's No Moon. How amazing. Star Wars for the win. Love, love, love. It's grays, it's got a little bit of green, it's got some darker speckles in it as well. I'm in love with this. I feel like I could make socks out of this, but I really don't want to. I want to make something else out of this. It's 100 grams, 443 yards, so it's got a bit more yardage than a lot more yardage than I need for socks. So I might have to make this into something else. What would be ideal is if someone would design a Death Star pie shawl and then I could make this into that. It wouldn't be enough to really do the whole thing, but then maybe I could do another color around it. I don't know. It'd be awesome to do a Death Star out of this. Does it exist? Does anyone know? If you know of a Death Star pie shawl pattern, let me know. Anyway, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Gabby, for that. Really, really love it. And then the lovely ladies at the Green Mountain Spinnery, which is, there's their label, were so kind to give me these two skeins of their weekend wool, which is rustic but lanolin-y still and gorgeous, and this colorway is Pine Warbler. And they had, they just basically were so generous and said, find something you like and let us know, and then, you know what, it's a lovely parting gift, which I so appreciate. And they had a pair of Wellington boot toppers made out of this particular color, and I thought, oh, I kind of need those. They're not super masculine as a rule goes for Wellington boot toppers, but I don't care. They're really, really cool, and that's what I'm going to make out of these. So eventually, when I cast those on, I will show pictures, and you will see what that looks like, but this is about the yarn, and that color is just lovely. Thank you again to Green Mountain Spinnery. Okay, I'm going to just put these into something else. So I'm going to sidebar here for a sec because I want to show you this. I don't think I've shown this yet. If you are familiar with my podcast at all, and if you're not, this may come as news, but I'm a huge fan of the Fringe Field bag. And Karen Templar did a great job making them, and then she recently introduced this. So this is the Porter Bin by Fringe, and it's a big guy to hold basically sweaters quantities worth of yarn and stuff. And so I'm going to show you how this works. Basically, there's handles on the side, and you just pick it up and you move it around. It's not meant to be a project bag so much as a bin that you sort of can move from place to place to keep your project organized. So Sebastian's sweater is living in this currently, and I believe it only comes in the natural canvas at the moment, but this was on my Christmas list. It was sold out and sold out and sold out. And when I came back on, Christmas was over and done, so I treated myself. What am I going to say? I treated myself. So I love it. I'm super happy with it. I know it's non-Vogue, but it's pre-Vogue, so there you go. Had to share, because that's where a lot of this yarn is going to get dumped into. Okay, let's keep going. Vogue. I also ran into the most lovely ladies behind Espace Tricot in Montreal, which is a gorgeous yarn shop, and they surprised the heck out of me with scrumptious pearl yarn And this is called Au Naturel, and you can see if it will ever focus. Maybe can I make it focus? No, it wants to focus on me. There we go. Just like me, I want to focus on me. No. It is a beautiful superwash, and I think the tag is actually somewhere. It fell off. It's somewhere around. Sorry. I have it in the show notes. Hang on. Bear with me. It's an 80-20 superwash merino and nylon mix. I knew I had it in my show notes. There we go. Yay, me! It feels delicious, and this is definitely going into this year's box of socks because it's just too awesome. I'm going to wind off some of it so that I can do the heels without having to break them. So that way I have, heel quantities set aside, and bam, I'm going to just go along with those. So thank you so much to Melissa and Lisa. Super, super, super lovely. Missy. Okay, so what else did I pick up when I was there? Okay, this one was a bit of a special delivery. I got in touch with Ella Gordon, who is from Shetland, and she, you may know from a lot of the work that she does with Shetland Wool Brokers, and she has a new design out for, or had one out for Shetland Wool Week last year, which was the Croft House hat, and I think she did matching fingerless gloves. And so I had messaged that I really wanted to get the kit to make Isolde Teague's Saudade hat, but all the yarn was sold out. So she messaged me and said, well, I can bring it to Vogue, because I originally said in the last episode that I was going to hopefully pick up the yarn there, but no one was retailing it there at Vogue this year. And it's not like I can't get it online or I can't buy it here in Ontario, but no one in Toronto carries it. So anyway, I had it, Ella, such a star, hand delivered to me all of the yarn required to make the hat. So these guys are little 25-gram skeins of, these are the Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight, 100% Shetland wool, and that's their label. And they're amazing. How much are they? They're 125 yards per skein, and it needs 5 colors to do the hat. I can't wait to get started on this because as I said in previous episodes, I'm really looking forward to getting back into color work this year. I feel like it's been a while since I've done color work, and I'm really looking forward to it. So Ella, you are a champion, you are a star. Thank you so much. I'm so thrilled with this. These colors are amazing. I'm still very touched and overwhelmed by her taking the time to do that for me. I really, really appreciate it. What else did I pick up? Well, out of the non-yarny stuff, we'll come back to that. Out of yarn, only one more did I buy at Vogue, and I hadn't intended on really buying this, but I did anyway because I felt like I hadn't acquired a lot, which was fine. I didn't go with the intention of buying, but I did want to acquire something maybe a little more special for me. I'm trying to fix a label here, so that's why I'm looking down. And we have a pattern in the first issue of Rib magazine called the Stalactite Scarf that I really want to make for myself. So I decided to treat myself, as you do, and I bought 4 skeins of Woolfolk. This is their tinned base. Make sure I have that right. Yep, this is the tinned base. It's upside down. There you go. There's their card. And this is their, what do they call it? Superfine merino. This is their fingering weight. This is color number 17. It's 223 yards or 205 meters and 50 grams. And I love it. It's this sort of like mousy gray that's got a tiny hint of brown to it, which is coming up pretty true on camera. And it's super luxurious and soft. And my void shawl that I did out of the Woolfolk 4 is probably one of my favorite things that I've ever made because it's so scrumptious. So I'm going to make this into the stalactite. which is a linen stitch triangular, very long triangular scarf, and I feel like this is going to look really great in that. And because it's around the neck, it's going to be really, really soft and squishy. So, doesn't really have a smell to it. I know some yarns, I do. I always smell my yarn. Do you do that? I smell books and I smell yarn. Go figure. Anyway, that was my, say my luxury purchase. It wasn't cheap, but I'm really, really happy because it's going to be for me. Okay, so that's it for yarny, sorry, I got fluff in my nose, yarn purchases at Vogue. Let's talk about, do you want to do let's do the rest of the yarn and then we'll talk about non-yarn stuff. Let's do that, okay. I also received, where am I going to go next? Let's clear the decks a little bit, okay. As I said, I went to the Richard DeVries trunk show at Yarns Untangled yesterday, and I was really inspired by Cecilia Campochiaro. She's got a pattern called Color Mill that is just ridiculously awesome, and it's stripes of dark color broken with she did them all in minis, fingering weight minis, but I have a lot of, as you can see, fingering weight minis, but I felt like I wanted to do something that had more of a longer color repeat as opposed to in minis, because the minis I kind of have a plan to put into my blanket, and I want to do mini either sweaters or stockings as a garland for Christmas, so I didn't want to touch those. So Richard asked me if I was coming to the trunk show, and I said yes, absolutely. And so I brought him a copy of Rib Magazine, and he so generously gave me these two skeins. And this is his, it's superwash yarn. He doesn't say what the base is. Oh, there it is, 100% merino. This is his Pepino base. And this is called Individuality, and it's dye lot 13, which I actually really like the number 13. So this will end up being the color mill. I did purchase the contrasting yarn to go with it already, but I'll show that off. I'll show you the whole project once I actually get that cast on. So lots of scarves, I think, in my future. Maybe the hat phase is coming to an end and maybe we're entering the era of the scarf. Who knows? Anyway, so that was from Richard. Thank you so much for that, Richard. If you haven't checked out his yarn, you really should. It's gorgeous stuff. The yarn is really lovely, but the colors are outstanding. Love them. Okay, what else do we have? I have more yarn. Can you imagine? I thought there wasn't that much, but it seems like there's a lot more. There was one in specific. I've got one sitting here next to me. Oh, there we go. Okay. So, a wonderful viewer named Baggy Lou on, sorry, I got fluff all over my face now. It's a problem when you have facial hair. It holds on to fluff. So Baggy Lou on Instagram reached out to me and said she wanted to send me some yarn, and I, of course, said, absolutely, no, don't. And she said, no, really, I have something that's perfect for you. And I thought, okay, thank you. Anyone, never feel you have to send me anything. It's really, really not necessary. I do this because I love it, not because I want free yarn. But sometimes when, you know, inspiration strikes, as this one did, I get it. This one is from Hedgerow Yarns. That's their label. This is a merino nylon sock base, high twist. It's an 80-20 and it's 365 meters or 100 grams. But the colorway is called Grello. So how could I say no to Grello, right? It's totally me. It's got actually some really interesting sort of green apple colors in it and some speckles. And this, I think I know what pattern I want to do out of this. And it's one that I might actually be creating myself. So stay tuned for that. But I love this. So thank you so much. And it feels really nice. It's just really, really lovely. And it's from the UK. And the best part is it has a little hedgy. It's never going to focus, is it? Focus? No? Too close. Never going to focus. Maybe. That's what happens when you focus, when you record on an iPhone. It's what happens. Anyway, so that happened. Thank you so much for that. Right, I need to reach over here because there's more yarn. We're almost through the yarn. Just saying, we're almost through the yarn. If you are familiar with Canadian yarn dyers at all, you will be familiar with Julie Aslin. And Julie is an amazing colorist and dyer, and she works with some amazing people. She's got a wait list for people to carry her yarn. She's really, really lovely. She's also a lovely person, so that's kind of nice to see as well. She's Canadian, based in Quebec, so of course I got to support my peeps. So Julie is such a lovely lady. She offered to send me a skein of her new sock base that she's introducing. She had sort of one previously, but she's got a new one, and this is my skein of the first one. It is called Nomad, and it is an 80-20 merino, and is it merino? Yeah, superwash merino and 20% nylon. This one actually is I want to make sure I'm reading this right. It's spun in the US. And I believe that this is, I read about it. Where did I read this? Was it on here? It is an eco-process superwash, which is kind of nice. This colorway, it doesn't say on the label. I don't know if it's been named yet. It's that new. I know exactly what pattern, I will be making this into socks. I know exactly what pattern I'm going to make it with, but it's an upcoming pattern that's coming out later this year, so I can't talk about it yet. But once I cast this on, you will know, and I will make sure that you know about it. But that color, look at that steely blue color. Isn't that awesome? I just love that color. Oh, look at that. If I cover my face, it focuses. Duh. Okay, so that's Julie. Thank you so much, Julie, for sending me that. Okay, last one. One of the highlights of Vogue for me, one of the things that I came away from something that's new, right? What did I see? A lot of people were asking me, oh, what's new? What did you see? Speckles are still hot. Yeah, tonals are totally in. Combining colors like in the Find Your Fade shawl, which is mega popular right now, driving a lot of people to try new stuff. But I'm kind of trying to focus on fibers that are not necessarily new to the world, but a little bit newer to me and working with them. And I had a company by the name of June Cashmere reach out to me and ask me if I'd be interested in testing out some of their yarns. And I had the pleasure of speaking with them when I was at Vogue, so that was lovely. It was nice to see them in person and get to sort of feel the finished and blocked garments and stuff like that. So they were kind enough to send me 2 skeins of June Cashmere. This is their DK base. It's 150 yards per skein. This color is indigo, which, I'm in love with cashmere. Love, love, love cashmere. This sweater is cashmere. It's Uniqlo. I didn't make it. It's too fine for me to make. But this needs to be something that uses every little inch of this yarn. And I was originally going to make a hat out of it. I really love a lot of the hats that Jared Flood's been doing lately, because in the Arbor base, which is their DK weight, they sort of redrafted a lot of the patterns to go into DK weight. But I think that this might need to be a scarf or a cowl. There is a pattern on the June Cashmere site for a cowl that I actually downloaded. I purchased and downloaded it to make, I think, out of this because it uses 2 full skeins. So it remains to be seen what it does end up turning into, but oh, it's so lovely. You can't really, it's not going to help you. I need to see it up close, but the color is inky and lovely. I adore it. So thank you so much to June Cashmere for sending me that, and when I cast that on, you will see the projects. I promise you will see them. All right, that's okay. There's one more little yarn thing, but I'm going to show that in the next segment in the haul part 2 because it goes with something else that came in the mail. Stay tuned. Okay, I lied. I had 2 more things that I wanted to share that are yarn related. So I told you that I did a bit of a, I won't say yarn crawl because there's only 2 shops, but I did a little bit of wandering through yarn stores yesterday with my friend Elaine. And when we stopped at Romney, we saw that they still had a lot of quantity of Regia sock yarn that is all 25% off. So I picked up this one. This is the Arnie and Carlos edition 3, and I don't know what color this is. It's color 02459, which if you go on their website will tell you sort of what the color is, but it doesn't really tell you on the ball. But I really like this color. Purple isn't so much me, but it's only a little bit. It doesn't look like a huge amount in the actual finished sample they show on the band. But I really like this one. It's slightly different for me, so this might be a summer color for me. And then I picked up this one. I've never used this yarn before. This is on, I don't know what this is. It's all in German. I have no idea. My German friends and viewers will tell me that I'm being silly. Of course I can read this. Oh, it's made in Turkey. Oh, look at that. There we go. Look at those colors. Isn't that awesome? Love all the colors. It makes me feel like superhero colors because of the yellow and the red and the blue. But I'm really loving this. It's 75-25 polyamide, which is nylon. And it just it's virgin wool. So nice and sturdy. So there you go. 2 more socks. So there, lie corrected, back on plan, haul 2 coming up next. Okay, time for haul part 2. Let's all just take a deep breath. That was a lot of yarn. I didn't think it was that much actually, but it's basically a month's worth of yarn that's, you know, come to be at my house. So, you know what, we kind of had to work through it. Anyway, we're there. Oh boy. I have a stack of things here. This is all books, resources. If you're not interested in those, feel free to truck on through past this part, but I wanted to show you some non-yarny stuff. Before we get to the books, I wanted to show you, I also picked up a pack of flexible blocking wires. This is actually from Leslie Solomon's shop, and I have not opened them yet because I have not had occasion to use them as yet, but I will be when I go to block my pie shawl. So I figured that's advanced planning in works right there. So that's that one. What else did I get? Well, some of this came through Vogue, some of it came before Vogue, some of it came after Vogue. Let's not worry about time frames, shall we? One of the things that I've been picking up slowly but surely over time as I place an order with a company or work with a company's yarn, I've been picking up shade cards. I had to get one from June Cashmere. They were so kind to actually give this one to me. And it opens up, and these great shade cards are hand cut and wound, and check that out. Look at those colors. Aren't they lovely? There's 2. There's the DK weight, which is this one. These are all the DK colors. And then they also come in a lace weight, which is that set. So I kind of wish they had this color in DK, but maybe I've got a bit too much yellow, gold, green happening already. Maybe I need to branch out a little. I don't know. But I'm just tucking this back in because, let's face it, it's cashmere and it deserves to be protected. But honestly, June Cashmere guys, like I'm not paid by them. I don't rep them. I don't rep anybody. But I really like them. I like their story. The quality of this is a really nice shade card too. Their cashmere is processed in Europe. I believe it is Scotland where they do the spinning. It's grown in Kyrgyzstan and it's dyed in Maine. Lovely yarn. So I picked up that. I also had ordered, and this is the original way that I got in touch with Ella, I had ordered, and they were out of stock forever. Finally they came back in, so I was on the wait list, came back in, and I got the Jameson and Smith Shetland wool shade cards. And it comes in this folder because there's a ton of them. There's all kinds of colors. Look at all these colors. I'm gonna just fan this out. Check that out. So anybody who's interested in doing color work, nothing really can compare to physically having the yarn right in front of you. Some of them are naturals, and a lot of them are, that one's a natural, that's a dyed one, that's another dyed one, this is their heritage line. These are all, I believe, hand done. And you can imagine how labor intensive that is. I wouldn't want to be the person doing that, but I appreciate it. So they aren't cheap, but if you're at all interested in doing ongoing color work, pick up a shade card. And then when I was actually at the Green Mountain Spinnery, I also picked up shade cards. And this folder, I should show you that first. There's their folder. There's their information. You can look them up online. That's why I'm not holding it there. You can just Google them. You'll find them. It comes with a pattern in the shade card folder, which I'm not going to show you because this is paid for. But they do the same thing with all of their, ooh, that's really nice. This is their Capricorn, 100% North American fiber. Ooh, it's mohair and fine wool. Ooh, I haven't looked at this stuff much, to be honest, since I got back. I haven't really had a chance. But I wanted to show you, there's an example, weekend wool. There's all the colors that they have of weekend wool. You get a little bit of a sense of what it feels like. I wouldn't gauge feel by a shade card. But for color, absolutely. You can see sort of the density of the fiber and the twist. There's a lot of them in here too. Like, there's a lot. There's tons. Ooh, that's nice. Anyway, I'm gonna get distracted. Shiny squirrel, which is, you know, you could do shiny, ooh, shiny, or squirrel, oh, squirrel. But when it's really bad, it's shiny squirrels. So there's another shade card. I've picked up a bunch I've got some from Quince, and I've got Brooklyn Tweed. I think I've got everything now from Brooklyn Tweed as well, from their shade cards. So, you know what, I love them. It helps me figure out a lot more of this sort of project-specific purchase thing that I'm after. Okay, so that's shade cards. Let's talk next about some magazine. I ordered my copy of Lane magazine, which is a new knitting, I would call it a knitting lifestyle magazine from Scandinavia, which is lovely. The photography is really, really nice. It's very moody. The patterns are, I think there's only one or two that I personally would make, but there's one from Stephen West. There's a pattern from Vera Välimäki. There's a pattern from Johi Locatelli, and some recipes, and it's a lovely time. I'd say this is a Sunday afternoon magazine. Sit down with a cup of tea, maybe some music going on in the background, and enjoy this. When your hands have had a little too much knitting all weekend, take a break and read this. I really, really appreciate it. It feels lovely. It's high quality. Love it. I also ordered and received, I got this I think just after Vogue, the Knit Sonic Stranded Color Work source book. And this is by Felicity Ford, and this was actually originally done through Kickstarter. And it's all about how to, I'm trying to find a page that I can show you that doesn't have charts, because I don't want to, it's a paid for book, and I want to respect the right to people's work. But it is really about how to find, here's a good example, find inspiration and turning it into color work patterns. There are patterns in it as well that sort of help coach you along. But oh my gosh, I'm absolutely in love with this. And for someone who's interested in doing more color work, right, like this kind of resource is invaluable. There are a ton of books on Fair Isle and color work, but to create your own, love it. Love, love, love. So that came just before or after Vogue, doesn't matter. Okay, so what else came? I will go with this one next. I got my copy of Sequence Knitting. So that's the book. If you've never seen it, that's what it looks like. And this is, my parents gave me this for Christmas. It arrived just in time before I had to leave for New York. I had to run up to my parents' house to go pick it up because it was delivered there. But I got it, I took it back. Cecilia was kind enough to autograph it for me. But remember the Color Mill scarf that I was telling you about that I am going to use the Richard DeVries yarn for? That's the Color Mill. That, honestly, stunning. I have seen it in person. The class that Cecilia did, she brought all of her samples with her, which was kind of cool. The only one she didn't bring that they show on the back are these little swatches, these little tubular circular swatches. I kind of want to make those just to have, because I feel like there's like this little forest of swatches would be really cool to have. It is a big book. It's £5. It is currently, I believe, out of stock for the most part, except for a few places you might be able to pick it up still, like local yarn shops might have some still in stock. But the third printing is coming out, so you'll be able to soon be able to buy it back on Amazon and places like that. So love this. Cecilia, it is an opus. There's a second edition, a second volume coming later this year as well. So I won't hold her to it because I know she's, you know, a busy lady, but I think that's the schedule. She's trying to get that out this year. Whew, I need some tea. I don't know about you, but it's a lot of talking. Okay. I have a few more to show. Things that I did pick up. I picked up 2 of these at Vogue. And so here's the thing. I bought 2 books at Vogue, both by Deborah Newton. I bought them. They have like a little book selling stand, and they had people signing autographs, and Kate Fassett was there, and a few other people were there. Cecilia was signing books. But I bought them on Saturday. Oh, I bought one Friday, one Saturday. By Sunday, they were marked down even further, which I guess because they don't want to truck it back into inventory. So I'll know better for next year if I go buy books on Sunday. But what did I pick up? Well, I picked up one that was a little bit older book by Deborah Newton, which is Finishing School, which is all about, it's a master class in how to finish your knits. There are patterns in it as well, but it's just like, oh, it's delicious. I'm not going to show you the content because you need to buy your own or get it from the library. Because I feel like I don't want to ruin anybody's impression of Deborah showing off things that aren't mine to show. But I also picked up, ta-da, Good Measure, which is really, really interesting book on how to get the right, like for designing, things that you can alter yourself, things that you can create, patterns, how to get different shapes, how to do a V-neck versus a crew neck, that sort of thing. So how to make sure, and primarily for, fit for everybody is a challenge in knitwear, but fit for women where there are more curves to accommodate can be more of a challenge than for men. But even for men, there are differences in body types and shapes. Everyone's different, so you kind of have to work around it, and I think this book is going to be my go-to resource for how to do that. All right, 2 more things I want to talk about, and then that's it for the haul. I had the very, very good fortune to be able to meet the wonderful June Hyatt while I was at Vogue, and I did not have a copy of her book in my library, so when I got back, I ordered it from Amazon, and through the miracle of Amazon Prime, it came the very next day, which I appreciate. If you've never seen this book, guys, it's huge. It is a tome. It is like Encyclopedia Yarnica or something. It's on how to do everything, how to do short rows, how to do color work, how to trap floats, how to do increases, different stitch patterns, like you name it. It literally is, it is the, I think, definitive work on knitting. Twined knitting, hand fulling. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. Seriously, guys, I don't know that this is the kind of book you want to read through from cover to cover, because this would take you forever to get through, but as a resource on how to do things, yeah, you can look up a YouTube tutorial. That's how I learned to knit. But if you want to know the technical ins and outs, I feel like this is the one to go to. So I picked that up too. It's an investment, but maybe your used bookstores might find one, or get it from the library if you want to check it out before you buy. All right, the stack of books here to my left is growing, but there's one more. And this one I am really, really pleased, really pleased as punch that it came when it did. I wish it had come out before Vogue so that I might have been able to get it autographed, but it didn't, so I'll have to just carry it with me for the next time that I get to meet the designer behind it. And that is the second Brooklyn Tweed capsule collection. This one is featuring designs entirely by Michelle Wong, who... Michelle's a goddess as far as I'm concerned. I did buy this when it first came out. I got the print and digital, so I've seen all the patterns in it. I've seen the... I have the digital download, obviously, but there's nothing like, for this particular kind of collection, having this physical book. So I have the first one, which was... featuring designs from Olga Barakafalian, also known as Olga Jazzy. But Mishi 2 times. I love this. Love this. Okay, I'm going to gush forever, except I want to show you one pattern. There's actually a couple of patterns that men can do in here. And there's actually one that I think, with a couple of alterations, it's a women's pattern, but with an alteration or two, it can very easily go for men. Okay, so there is, first of all, this hat, which I love. Love this hat. It's all cabled goodness. This is what I was kind of hoping I might have enough yarn out of the, I was thinking the Cocoon, but I believe that this is done in Shelter, which is obviously worsted, not Aran weight. So I kind of feel like that's not going to work. But I have other stuff. I have a skein of Woolfolk Aran that I might make into that. But the one, and I'm trying to flip through to, there it is. The cardigan for men that she designed, I have been lusting and hoping for a stonecutter pullover type sweater by Michelle for men. And in this collection, she did not disappoint. This is the Radmere cardigan, which I'm going to put it up there. You know what? This is so much easier to do it this way than to find a picture and post it and edit it in post. There's the picture. Isn't that gorgeous? This is in Shelter in the Hayloft colorway, which I adore. There's some more pictures of it. Look at that cabled goodness. I just love it. I can't see what I'm showing you, but it's amazing. I will be making this. I think this might be, I have a couple of Rhinebeck sweaters I want to make. I'm going for a little bit longer this time to Rhinebeck, so I might need, one per day if I can get through them. If I can get through them as fast as I get through Sebastian's, which is never going to happen, I know that, then I could pump out a sweater in a week. No, this is going to take a while, but I love this. It's got a shawl collar. It's she's finished it with wooden buttons, which I actually picked up at last year's Knitters Frolic here in Toronto. I can't remember if I bought 5 or 6 wooden buttons that might be perfect actually for this. I just love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, Michelle, way to go. Congratulations. It's lovely, lovely, lovely. And Brooklyn Tweed was actually kind of cool. So I have one more thing that they gave me, which was this little tiny mini skein of Arbor. This is in the Sashiko colorway, which I have 2 skeins of that are sitting in my temporary stash. This is my stash box. I got this crate as part of a Christmas gift, and I figure it's great for stacking yarn in. Before I started podcasting today, it was full of all the yarn that I showed you. So I get to look at my yarn, but I don't have to have the entire stash out on display. I'd like just a little piece. Anyway, this will be great because this will help extend what I have. I have 2 skeins in this colorway, so this might work for something, just so I could do maybe a little bit of a heavier project with it. Okay. Whew. Are you exhausted yet? I kind of am. That's it for the haul. I'm going to take a quick little break, and we're going to come back and talk about 1 or 2 more things. Okay, so we've come through all of the haul. We've talked about Vogue. We're in a good place. But now I want to get real for a sec, and I just want to talk a little bit about some of the comments that I got on the last episode. And this is not going to be, I'm not calling anybody out. I don't want to be disparaging by any means. But I did want to address some of the commentary that was put about the last episode. The last episode I recorded, edited, and uploaded from my phone while I was basically on the move between here and our trip to Florida. And I could not for the life of me figure out how to stop the background music. So I thought, you know what, it's quiet, it's ducked down below the rest of the volume, so probably not a big deal, and I'd rather get something out there than not post anything at all. So I did. Some of the comments that came in were, let's just say, less than constructive. And I to be very honest, I've been really struggling about how and what to say about this, because I don't think it's necessarily fair of me to make a big deal of it, because frankly there are a lot bigger issues in this world right now than people complaining about background music. It is what it is, guys. I got out what I got out. I was happy with the episode, and if you weren't happy with it, I'm sorry. But here's my little admonishment, that if you're going to comment on something, I'm going to sort of paraphrase my friends Debbie and Amy of the Periscoping Sisters. If you can't be nice, be quiet. I'm going to paraphrase that to say, if you can't be nice, be constructive. There were a few comments that were so over the top that I ended up just hiding them, because I thought they were, they weren't particularly, it's not that they were nice to me, it didn't hurt my feelings, frankly, whatever, it's your opinion, that's great. But there were a few that I just thought were inappropriate. So I'd really, really appreciate it if there's something that you want to see on the podcast, or something that you'd want to see changed, or something you don't like. Constructive criticism is something I take on board. You may not immediately see the effect of your critique or your suggestion, because you know what, I sort of take it en masse in aggregate. I did hear you about the background music, but here's sort of, let me put it in perspective for you. If someone came to your house, you invited them to dinner and said, come to my house, it's free, it's on me, I just want you to sit back and enjoy, and then you came back and gave them a comment card and said, your food was too salty. Yeah, I don't know how many of us would really appreciate that, and this is not a woe is me moment, because I'm a big boy. I put out something into the ether, into the interwebs, and I expect a certain amount of feedback, but I would love if we could maybe be a little more constructive. Like I said, there were a few that were just maybe a little over the top. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So I don't want to finish on that note. I want to finish with something else. What I want to finish with is, yay, giveaway time! Yes, I'm going to do giveaway. I've got 3 patterns to give away today. And those patterns are from some amazing designers. So I don't want to miss any of this. I want to get the names right and the designers right. The first one is the Snow Day shawl pattern from Mina Phillip. Beautiful shawl pattern. I also have Amy Meeks, who is, as I just mentioned, one half of the Periscoping Sisters. She's released the Free the Minis pattern, which is not a shawl. It is not a shawl. Let's not call it a shawl. Amy will be upset. And then Leanna Gardner released also the Nettle Kiss cowl. And each one of these wonderful ladies has given me a copy of their patterns to give to you. So how can you win? On Ravelry, I'm going to open a thread for the giveaway, and all you have to do is comment on Ravelry, not on YouTube, because this is not a YouTube contest, this is a Ravelry contest. Comment with the one knitting skill that you would like to acquire in 2017. That's all you need to do, and I will be drawing 3 winners at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the this upcoming Friday, which is the 3rd of February. I will be closing the thread at 5 p.m. and I will be doing the drawing at that time. Winners will be notified through Ravelry, because I'm going to be traveling a little bit. Not a huge amount, but we may be going away. Next weekend is our anniversary, so we may or may not be traveling. And I don't want you to have to wait for me to tell you. So I'm going to message you on Ravelry if you have won. And I will also update the show notes to this episode with who the winners are when that is finished. So if you are not contacted by me by about 6 p.m. Eastern on Friday, then you have not unfortunately won, but those winners you will know. So that's it for this episode, guys. It's been a little bit longer than normal. I have no idea how long this is going to take me to edit, because I have no idea how long it is in total. But I am going to ask you one other thing. I keep getting conflicting reports as to what people would prefer from a yarn and pattern information standpoint. So my schedule is pretty tight at the moment, and I really, really want to focus on giving you what you need, but also make it manageable for me, so that I can continue to do these in a relatively short order kind of methodology. So I'm going to give you choice A or choice B, and I'm going to open a poll for this one. Choice A is show notes that includes the name of the designer, the pattern name, and the yarns that are mentioned. And if it's about a yarn acquisition, then it'll be obviously the name of the company plus the base plus the colorway. Option 2 is I can put them up in pop-ups here in the actual YouTube video. It's a lot of work to do both, and I don't necessarily have the time to do them both in a really effective way. And if you get more value out of a show notes where you can either copy and paste it into a shopping list or something like that, I would rather give you something that you can use of value in that way. Or if you would prefer to see it when I am talking about it on screen, then I would be happy to do it that way. So there's your poll question. No prizes. It's not a contest. That one's not a giveaway. That's just, I would really love to hear back from you as to what you think would be appropriate. So that's it for this week. Hope you have a great, great week and lots of knitting. It's starting to snow outside, so it's time to brew some fresh oolong tea and get back at that sweater. Happy knitting. Talk to you soon.